Although grief and loss is a natural part of the human existence, it is a highly misunderstood part of the human existence, and all kinds of myths and misunderstandings abound. COVID really magnified how our grief skills are almost non-existent in our culture. So on top of the trauma of the loss, now we are also adding the trauma of being completely ill-equipped and not knowing what to do. It can feel very scary and disempowering to look around and think, I don't know what to do for myself here, but also no one else does either. And everyone during the COVID pandemic was also experiencing all kinds of grief and loss. So it was turbulent. It was kind of a high alert state. Everybody was reeling, everybody was trying to figure it out. And I also think that COVID brought a level of loss that was unprecedented because it became so many losses at once. People were experiencing loss of loved ones. People were experiencing the loss of their health. People were losing their money, their job, their routines, their connection to family, their ability to reach out. Like everything that we were used to doing, we weren't allowed to do anymore. And we didn't know how it was going to turn out. So we also had this impending sense of loss that even if we hadn't lost something specific yet, we probably were going to. It was on the horizon. We were on the verge of more and more loss every single day. And the trauma of trying to be with people that were sick in the hospital, you couldn't get access to people, just the rules changed, and we didn't know how to adapt to that many rules changing that quickly, which is a whole different kind of loss and trauma. The sheer magnitude, the layers of loss, the compound grief. The grief just kept coming, and right as soon as we thought we were facing one loss, another one hit us, or a different kind of loss crept up, and it just was loss on top of loss on top of loss. And there are very few times, like often war times are like this, or overwhelming natural disasters. Those kinds of things create compound loss where there's just loss in every area of our life and the losses just keep coming. COVID was like that. Normal daily life doesn't usually have that many losses, as well as affect all of the people in our world. So we don't have anyone to lean on, to rely on. Very few people could be strong for us because they were dealing with their own losses. And so we all just sort of floundered. It reminds me of a bunch of people falling into the water, all just trying to swim and keep their head above water with nobody to grab onto, no help coming our way. As with high stake situations where there is a lot of fear, people tend to focus on what is causing their pain than actual solutions to processing and getting through their pain. So collectively, as a society and as individuals, the best thing we can do moving forward to heal the wounds of the COVID pandemic, whether those wounds are emotional, physical, financial, relational, spiritual. I think a lot of people had a crisis of faith. We're all just putting the pieces back together. But while we are trying to figure out how to process our pain, we need to lean on each other and reconnect. Just because COVID tore us apart does not mean we have to stay apart. We are allowed to reconnect, both physically, emotionally, spiritually. We need to lean in and hold our circles even tighter, love the people that we love more consistently and more obviously, allow people to love us, because it is that connection with one another that is essential. That's part of what magnified and compounded the fear and the grief and the loss of the COVID pandemic, was because we were torn away from each other in the physical sense. We were not allowed to connect. And as human beings, we need that connection, and Zoom connections, phone connections, although they're better than nothing, they are not the same as real life, flesh and blood, eye to eye, hand to hand, sharing space in the same room. There's just a different energy that goes with human to human connection. And so that needs to be priority one. We need to reestablish that. And if you are struggling with social anxiety or confusion or depression, anything that might be limiting you from connecting to others, seek out professional help, because that barrier is the most essential barrier to overcoming, so that the human part of you can reconnect to the human part of other people, and you will begin healing, because connection is one of the most healing things that we can do for ourselves. And then also, there's some really practical things. We need to take really good care of our bodies. We need to eat good, clean, healthy food. We need to drink lots of water. We need to get outside and get fresh air and sunshine. We need to move our bodies every day, protect our sleep, take quality supplements, especially adaptogen herbs and minerals that help to regulate our central nervous system, restore balance to all systems of the body, regulate that anxiety and depression and any sort of over or under compensation that our bodies are doing in response to the COVID pandemic. It wasn't just emotional what happened to us. All of that emotional stress affects our physical body. And if we are coming from a completely rundown and depleted physical place, it does not matter what kind of emotional growth you're willing to do, how much effort and willpower you're willing to invest into your emotional well-being. Your rundown and depleted physical body will get in the way. It will stop you. So we have to rebuild ourselves up physically. And that's something that was severely impacted during the COVID pandemic. We weren't allowed outside. We couldn't go to the gym. Yoga classes got canceled. Outside activities got canceled. Our whole world really did shut down. And with that, a lot of our, not just coping mechanisms, but our healing rituals and our self-care practices, things that we relied on, got taken away from us. So it is imperative to put those back in your life and use them, practice them, protect them, do the most basic of your self-care. And just because there was a season when we couldn't operate as usual, we can get back to what works for us. And then the third most important thing is, a big part of the difficulty and trauma of the COVID pandemic was it revealed to us that we're actually not okay. We thought we were more okay. We were productive, we were coping, we were busy, and then all of a sudden we had so much time to think, so much time to be scared, so much time to self-examine, and a lot of us did not like what we found. So putting yourself back together the way you want to be after realizing that you're not the version of yourself that you believe that you can be, that requires some extra help, some real professional support. So if you've sort of had this epiphany, this awakening that you don't want to live your life the way you used to be living your life, and you want to live your life in a new way, embrace that. It is okay to make a new decision at any time. We can't control everything that happens to us in life, but if you allow it to bring you to a new understanding of yourself, if you allow it to help expose new priorities and refine your value system, you will live a more meaningful and purposeful life. COVID is not more powerful over us than we are over it. So take back your ability to make decisions. You are allowed new choices, and if those new choices don't work for you, you can make a new choice at any time. COVID left a lot of us feeling very powerless and sort of bracing for impact. But it's okay to take a deep breath, unravel what you learned about yourself, reevaluate your values, make new changes and new choices in your life to become the version of yourself that you want to be and live your life the way that you want to live it. So COVID does not get the final say. It is not going to be the last difficult thing that happens. I hate to say that. But together, as long as we lean on each other, we remember to connect, we take really good care of our physical health and well-being, and we give ourselves permission to make new choices and live our lives in new ways at any time, we will get through this together. And I promise you, there's blessing and goodness on the other side, because you get to decide what the COVID pandemic means for you. It doesn't have some agenda on its own. You get to determine what purposefulness and meaningfulness comes out of the hard things you experience. And if you would like more support to define that and to carry yourself through that, seek that out. There are people who can help you, and I'm one of them. I would be glad to journey with you. All right, take care.